There is a question that millions of people have asked at some point in their lives. What would happen if you invested $2,000 every single month, not trading every day, not chasing the next hot stock, not looking for a cryptocurrency that could make you rich overnight, just investing, month after month, year after year? Most people think the answer is a number, $1 million, $2 million, maybe even more. But the most interesting part of this story isn't the money. It's what happens inside the mind of the person doing it. Because building wealth has never been just a financial challenge. It's a psychological one. This is the story of Ethan. At 25 years old, Ethan had what most people would call a good life. He had a stable job, a decent salary, a growing career, and like many young professionals, he had a list of things he wanted. A nicer apartment, a luxury car, expensive vacations, financial freedom. One evening, while scrolling through videos online, he came across a simple idea. A sentence that sounded almost too boring to be true. Invest consistently for a long enough period of time, and time will do most of the work. That's it. No secret formula. No insider information. No get-rich-quick scheme. Just consistency. At first, Ethan laughed. How could something so simple create wealth? After all, people love complexity. We assume that if something creates extraordinary results, it must require extraordinary effort. But after weeks of research, Ethan made a decision. Starting next month, he would invest $2,000 every month into a broad market index fund. No matter what happened. The first month felt exciting. Ethan transferred the money and felt proud. For the first time, he wasn't just earning money. He was putting money to work. The second month felt good too. The third month was okay. By the sixth month, something unexpected happened. He became bored. Nobody talks about this part. People assume investing is difficult because of risk. But often, the hardest part is boredom. Human beings crave stimulation. We want excitement. We want action. We want immediate results. Investing provides almost none of those things. 1 month passes. Nothing changes. Another month passes. Nothing changes. The account grows slightly. Then slightly more. Nothing dramatic. Meanwhile, social media tells a completely different story. Someone claims they turned 10,000 into 100,000. Someone else shows off a luxury watch. Another person says they became financially free before turning 30. Suddenly, Ethan's strategy looked painfully slow, painfully boring, and maybe even stupid. In his second year of investing, a friend called him. "Ethan, you're missing the opportunity of a lifetime." There was always an opportunity. A new stock. A new trend. A new business. A new technology. A new way to get rich. Every opportunity came with the same promise. Huge returns. Fast returns. Life-changing returns. And for a moment, Ethan felt something dangerous. Impatience. Because deep down, most people don't actually want to get rich slowly. We want the shortcut. We want the breakthrough. We want the story that can be told at parties. We want to feel special, different, smarter than everyone else. That's why scams continue to work. Not because people are foolish, but because people are hopeful. And hope can sometimes blind us. Fortunately, Ethan stayed with his plan. Then came the crash. The headlines were everywhere. Markets were falling. Investors were panicking. Experts were predicting disaster. Every day seemed worse than the day before. Ethan opened his investment account and watched thousands of dollars disappear. Then tens of thousands. The losses felt real. Painfully real. This is the moment where theory becomes reality. Everyone says they are a long-term investor when markets are rising. But when their portfolio falls by 30%, 40%, or even 50%, everything changes. Fear takes over. The ancient survival instincts inside the human brain wake up. A voice begins screaming. Sell. Protect yourself. Get out before it's too late. Ironically, the same people who wanted to buy when prices were high suddenly wanted to sell when prices were low. Human psychology often pushes us toward exactly the wrong decision. What surprised Ethan most wasn't the financial loss. It was the doubt. The constant doubt. Every day, questions filled his mind. What if this strategy doesn't work? What if I'm wasting my best years? What if everyone else is right? What if I'm wrong? No spreadsheet can measure this part. No calculator can show it. Because the real battle of investing happens inside your head. Most people don't lose because they chose the wrong investment. They lose because they abandoned the right strategy too early. Years passed. Ethan continued investing. The same amount. Every month. Without fail. Then one day, something remarkable happened. He looked at his account and realized that the money earned by his investments that year was larger than what he had personally contributed during many of his early years. For the first time, he could see compound growth working. Not as a theory, not as a chart, but as reality. His money was beginning to generate more money than his labor. And that changed everything. The most surprising thing wasn't the growth of his portfolio. It was the growth of Ethan himself. Years earlier, he would see a luxury car and think, I need that. Now he looked at the same car and thought, how much future wealth would this cost me? Years earlier, he wanted to impress strangers. Now he wanted to impress his future self. Years earlier, he spent money to feel rich. Now he invested money to become rich. His relationship with money had changed completely. And that psychological shift was worth more than any investment return. At 45 years old, Ethan looked back. He wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't famous. He didn't own a private jet. But he had something many wealthy people never achieve. Peace. He wasn't worried about every bill. He wasn't trapped in a job he hated. He wasn't afraid of every economic downturn. He had options. He had freedom. And most importantly, he had time. The one asset that money can never fully replace. If you invest $2,000 every month, the first thing that happens is not wealth. The first thing that happens is boredom. Then doubt. Then temptation. Then fear. Then the urge to quit. And if you can survive all of those things, something extraordinary begins to happen. Not just in your account, but inside your mind, because wealth is rarely built through a single brilliant decision. It is built through thousands of ordinary decisions repeated over and over again. In the end, the people who become wealthy are not always the smartest, not always the luckiest, and not always the most talented. They are often the ones who were simply willing to keep doing the right thing long after everyone else lost patience.